In the history of the Catholic Church, there are mystical figures whose visions, centuries later, seem to illuminate with disturbing precision the times we live in. Anna Catherine Emmerich is one of these prophetic voices. A German mystic who lived between 1774 and 1824, beatified by John Paul II in 2004. This Augustinian nun, marked by stigmata and by visions that accompanied her throughout her life, has left us prophecies that cross time like arrows, striking with precision the heart of our era. For those who still doubt that her visions may refer to our time, it would be enough to recall the famous vision of the two popes of May 13, 1820, when she stated, "I also saw the relationship between the two popes." And then, on August 10th of the same year, "I see the Holy Father in great anguish. He lives in a palace different from the one before." How can we not see in these words the echo of the unprecedented situation we have experienced with Benedict XVI and Francis? If this correspondence is authentic, what else has the mystic seen regarding the future of the Church? And what role could the newly elected Pope Leo XIV have in all this? If these themes are close to your heart, help us spread them. A like can do a lot, as well as your subscription to the channel. Thank you from the heart. Let's start with one of Catherine Emmerich's most extraordinary visions, from October 7, 1820. In this, she described a scenario that seems to speak directly to our present. The mystic recounts having traveled through Rome with Francesca and a saint, and having seen a large palace engulfed in flames. No one tried to extinguish the fire, and she feared for the fate of the inhabitants. However, when they approached, the flames extinguished spontaneously, leaving the building blackened and damaged. Proceeding through magnificent halls, they finally reached the Pope, whom they found sitting in darkness, on a large chair, in a state of profound weakness and illness, unable even to walk. In the same vision, the mystic contemplated St. Peter's Basilica in a state of advanced demolition. The structure had been torn down to the choir and the high altar. In this apocalyptic scenario, she saw the Archangel Michael descend into the church, dressed in armor and with a drawn sword, to oppose the numerous bad shepherds who were trying to penetrate the sanctuary. Of the great basilica, only the back part remained, where the blessed sacrament still shone, miraculously preserved from destruction. But then, after this image of devastation, Catherine Emmerich saw a ray of hope. "I then saw a magnificent woman. She walked across the great square, in front of the church. She had gathered her mantle on her two arms, and silently rose up high. And there she stood on the dome, and widely extended her protective mantle over the entire area of the church, which shone like gold. The demolishers had just given a little respite. Now, they wanted to resume, but they could not approach in any way the protective mantle of Mary. The Virgin Mary never abandons her children, and always protects them anyway with her mantle. If you too believe in the protection that the Virgin Mary offers us, write in the comments. I am under Mary's mantle. Amen. And then, perhaps the most relevant passage for our time. I now saw a new pope arriving with a procession. He was much younger and stricter than his predecessor. He was received with great solemnity. It was as if he was to consecrate the church, but I heard a voice that a new consecration was not necessary, because the blessed sacrament had remained in its place. It was to be a double great feast of the church, a general jubilee, and the reconstruction of the church. Before the Pope began the feast, he had already prepared his people, who expelled from the assembly, without opposition, a quantity of superior and minor priests. And I saw that they left the assembly angry and grumbling. And he took into his service all different people, ecclesiastics and also lay people. Then began the great festivity, in the church of St. Peter. Catherine Emmerich's vision of October 7th finds perfect completion in a previous revelation. In it, the mystic described with disturbing precision. I saw an infinite number of people, who were busy demolishing the church of St. Peter. However, I also saw others, who were rebuilding it. Lines of connection of manual workers appeared throughout the earth, and I marveled at the coherence. The demolishers tore away entire pieces, and there were especially many members of sects and renegades. This description of the demolishers as members of sects and renegades is particularly significant in light of what we know today about Masonic infiltration in the Church. Later in the same vision, Catherine Emmerich further specifies who these demolishers were. As second to a plan and an order, there were people who demolished, wearing white aprons with blue edges and pockets, and their trowels were in the belt. These details, the white aprons with blue edges, the trowels, are unmistakable Masonic symbols. It is impossible not to notice how these words seem to resonate with the election of Pope Leo XIV. How? The choice of name is not accidental. As the pontiff himself has emphasized, it recalls the figure of Leo XIII and his Rerum Novarum, the encyclical that founded the Church's social doctrine. But what has been made to pass almost unnoticed, perhaps deliberately, is that Leo XIII is also the author of the encyclical Humanum Genus, a real frontal attack on Freemasonry and secret societies. In this document of 1884, Leo XIII denounced with fiery words the Masonic project of infiltration and subversion of the Church and Christian society. The Pope, drawing on St. Augustine's vision, described humanity as divided into two cities in struggle. On one side, the Church of Christ, founded on truth and obedience to God. On the other, the kingdom of darkness, guided by Satan. It is in this second field that Leo XIII placed Freemasonry, presenting it as an organized and secret force whose ultimate goal was the destruction of the Christian order. What makes this connection even more disturbing is that Leo XIII was perfectly aware of the existence of the Alta Vendita document, a Masonic plan dating back to 1820, the same year as Catherine Emmerich's visions, that outlined a strategy to infiltrate the Catholic Church and corrupt it from within. This document, from a Masonic lodge called the Carbonari, described a plan as bold as it was terrifying. Not a frontal attack, but patient work to shape generations of young priests, influence them with Masonic ideas, and make them ascend in the ecclesiastical hierarchy. Within 100 years, the document proclaimed with disturbing certainty, bishops and priests will think they are marching behind the standard of the Key of Peter, when in reality, they will be following our flag. Returning to Catherine Emmerich's vision, the central role played by the Virgin Mary and Saint Michael the Archangel is striking. The Virgin Mary extends her protective mantle over the Church, preventing the demolishers from completing their work of destruction. Saint Michael descends armed with a sword to oppose the bad shepherds. And here we find another extraordinary connection to the present. Pope Leo XIV was elected on May 8th, a date that coincides with two commemorations, one Marian and one angelic, of great importance. It is the day of the supplication to Our Lady of Pompeii, but it is also the anniversary of the first appearance of Saint Michael the Archangel on Mount Gargano, which occurred in 490 AD. As if all this were not enough, the prophecy that seems to have come true is precisely that of Saint Michael to Manuela Strack, the seer of Severnich. On February 18, 2025, in fact, the Archangel said that 2025 would be the year of the Great Decision. Today, we can say that a great decision has been made in the conclave, choosing precisely this Pope, destined to renew the Church. But there's more. In that same apparition, Saint Michael told Manuela, "Remember, despite everything that happens, the gates of hell will not destroy the Catholic Church. When all seems lost, Christ's victory will come. Amen." The truly unprecedented element in that apparition was the manifestation of Saint Michael's flaming sword, a powerful signal for our times. Father Michel Rodrigue, in a conference held at Gospa House at the end of August 2024, explained the profound meaning of this flaming sword. Now we are in chapter 12 of Revelation, but remember what I said. We are entering chapter 13. We will face the ugly face of evil, but not with our weapons, absolutely not. We will face it with our faith, and with the sword of Saint Michael. And this is where we will act as at the beginning, when God the Father separated light from darkness. We will have to be sharp with the sword of Saint Michael, to separate what is of God, from what is not of him. All these visions seem to converge toward a single point. A time of great trial for the Church, in which external and especially internal forces will try to demolish it. But in which there will also be a rebirth, guided by a new Pope, younger and stricter than his predecessor, with the help of the Virgin Mary and Saint Michael the Archangel. In light of these mystical visions, we entrust our deepest intentions to heaven. Write in the comments what you desire prayer for, and we will unite spiritually to support each other, as a living part of the Church that resists and renews itself. Surely, before the time of renewal, a time of destruction is already underway, in which there is already persecution, which will intensify. Pope Leo XIV must be ready to face an unprecedented struggle, well summarized, in the vision had by Sister Patrocinio, almost 2 centuries ago. What exactly did this nun see? To find out, click the video that has appeared on your screen. May God always illuminate your path. See you in the next video.